the Israeli offensive in Gaza has killed more journalists than in any other conflict in
conflict.
modern history.
What's happening in Gaza is the erasure of a people.
It's a litmus test, no, of our profession.
The heaviest price to pay is really your reputation.
Pag nawala na yung integrity mo as a journalist, wala ka ng karapatan maging journalist.
Hi, magandang araw mga kaibigan. This is Kaloy Conde again for another episode of our sumisikat na podcast, Open Talk. Makakasama natin si Jam Alindogan, formerly of Al Jazeera, as well as a good friend of ours, as well as Jess Asnar, of course, the Jess Asnar from the New York Times. So Jam, Jess, thank you for being here. Okay, our subject for today, medyo controversial to, ano? Not so much because there's this whole issue about whether Filipino journalists are covering Gaza as it should be covered, but also because what's happening in Gaza ngayon right now as parang malinaw sa lahat is just catastrophic on so many levels. Hindi lang ng mga civilians doon, hindi lang ng mga Palestinians doon, but also related doon sa hanap buhay, trabaho natin, lalo na ni Jam at saka ni Jess, sa mga journalists na andun. So, pag-uusapan natin yan, and then later on, we focus on some of the issues in the Philippines, whether the Gaza genocide, I mean, let's not mince words about it. What's happening there is a genocide, is something that a lot in the Philippines care about, particularly from the media. Okay, so Jam, can you tell me a little bit about your background in Al Jazeera? You know, how long were you staying there? And I know that you've known these colleagues of yours for years and years now. And how are all these things that are happening there concerning the journalists there specifically, and perhaps the civilians there, are affecting you in what way?
Al Jazeera was really an amazing experience for me. 14 years, right?
Mhm.
And although we are a big network, perhaps the biggest network with the biggest number of bureaus across the globe, it is kind of a small community because you do tend to know each other. And there's always a funny joke that when we see each other in person, like during that time sa Doha, parang magkaibigan kami lahat. So of course, hindi dahil taga Al Jazeera ako at hindi yun ang dahilan kung bakit familiar ako dun sa issue na yun. Siguro yung importante is yung storytelling na ginagawa sa Gaza. Kung Al Jazeera man yan or ibang network, is parehas sa ginagawa natin which is really
Mhm.
focusing on the minority lens, using the
Mhm.
minority perspective, challenging established perceptions, and really getting minority voices. And this is why I'm quite familiar with that, because that is not a sort of template that I follow, but it's a kind of instinct that had guided so many of us in our journalism, right? And that is what I did a lot in Mindanao,
Mhm.
where when you do cover conflict areas in Mindanao, ang priority lagi natin is yung voices ng minority kasi hindi naman pwedeng pulpito, 'di ba? Kung
Mhm.
may 3-4 minutes kang opportunity na mag-publish, yung bang 3 minutes nun mauubos mo dun sa bibigyan mo ng espasyo yung taong may pulpito na,
Mm.
spokesperson, o ibibigay mo yung boses na yon at yung espasyo na yon dun sa wala. Ganon
Yeah.
din yung story sa Gaza, I think. I mean,
I will pick up on that Mindanao Jam, but also Jess as well, because Jess has also covered Mindanao for quite a bit, the conflict areas. But let's zero in on what happened in Marawi. I'm not entirely sure now how much coverage you did in Marawi, Jam and Jess, but in some ways there are comparisons that can be made about what's happening. I mean, obviously not the extent of the catastrophe, but there are comparisons probably that we can glean from what happened in Marawi to what's happening in Gaza.
Yeah, well, first and foremost, I totally agree with Jam. Ano? I mean, it's always about perspective of the minority, perspective of the people that you're covering. It's not about uh, the more popular perspectives. And actually, that's one of the main reason I stayed in Mindanao, no? Because I saw the stories that are being told by the mainstream media was totally different from what is happening on the ground.
Mhm.
And parang eerily, parang somehow ito rin yung naramdaman namin eh. I mean, hindi lang ako, no? Mostly all of the journalists in Marawi, no. Ilang beses, well, you know, Jam, ilang beses tayong nag-meeting about it, ilang beses tayong nag-unite about it. It's all about who controls the narrative. It's about us not letting other stakeholders control the narrative, but instead it is us, no, it is us being eyewitnesses on the ground. And dapat yung susunod palagi, no? So
Yeah.
maraming mga comparisons na nakita ko dun sa nangyayari ngayon sa Gaza at saka dun sa Marawi, no? Eerily, no? Parang deja vu para sa akin, ano. One is
Wow.
the control of the narrative.
Yeah.
Two, it's putting the lives of civilians at stake, no? Just for the sake of whatever and whoever's interest, no? But ang pinaka-importante doon is that kaya nga nandiyan yung journalist eh. Nandiyan yung journalist to sift through all this what do you call this minefield of information and narratives that are being thrown at us, no? And hindi palaging, again, ito palagi yung one of our gripes, no, sa Marawi or sa Mindanao in general, no, when speaking about reporting in Mindanao, is that it's always the Western perspective, yung perspective ng Western media palagi yung nasusunod.
Yeah.
Than the Moro perspective or than the perspective of the population that's on the ground. No? Parang it's about the perspective of what's really happening on the ground versus the perspective
Yeah.
of an editor that's like 1,000 miles away.
Yeah.
Na wala naman yung boots niya on the ground. No?
I think what is really familiar is the access. Just like Gaza, our access to ground zero was severely restricted for 5 months. It was perhaps the most difficult. And it was well controlled because of the bomb runs, for whatever it was in terms of the reasons that were used. We were quite restricted. Having said that, Gaza is only restricted to Western journalists.
Oh, yeah.
Let's not forget that there are Palestinian journalists on the ground that are credible sources that tells us the most accurate picture at neck-breaking speed. And they live the bombardment, they live through everything constantly, and they are the most credible to report. They're not the parachuting journalists. Like, we admit that we were parachuting as well into Mindanao and so many other places. So I think that was the sticking point, right? So which brings us to yung ang issue din nung sa Marawi na parang, okay, hindi tayo ma-access. So are we gonna be dependent on handouts? Are we just gonna use the handouts and take them for what they are supposed to be? I guess sanitized information. And so you really had to find a way in Marawi to maneuver and get that information that is hardly made available. And I think that was it. I think it's not also exclusive to Marawi alone. In many cases, access is always difficult anywhere. This is why sources are critical. And this is why, when the 5 journalists were killed a few months ago, and one of them were tagged as Hamas, when they showed pictures of that slain journalists with Hamas leaders, right? Medyo may tama yun eh. Kasi proximity to power is not power, right? It does not, but you live and breathe your work through your sources and through your access. So just because ang isang journalist, like kagaya ko, may kasama akong MNLF sa pictures, sa mga pictures nila, hindi ibig sabihin nun na nagrebelde na rin ako. Diba? I mean, paano natin gagawin yung storya kung wala tayong ganong access? So, yun yung nagiging problema dito. And medyo mabagal tayo mag-react.
Yeah.
Mabagal tayo mag-react, mabagal tayo mag-rebuke, and medyo passive yung approach natin pagdating sa mga ganitong harassment sa mga journalists.
There are several points there that we will pick up on in a while. But of course, we all know that controlling access is one way to control the narrative. And so we see this anywhere where there's conflict, right? I mean, we've all had our share of covering conflict, and we've all had our share of, not being provided accurate information, let alone access. So this is like a continuing challenge for journalists and also even advocates such as myself when we go into areas of conflicts. Now, before we go into the yung the sticking points that I mentioned kanina, Jam, can you update us a little bit about your colleagues in Al Jazeera? Kasi
I
may video.
don't have direct information about how they're doing, but it's very, very easy to see. I mean, if you're seeing journalists already writing their will,
Oh,
preparing their will, right? And making sure that all of these letters to their loved ones are sent because they can just die anytime. It tells you how bad the situation is. The killing of Palestinian journalists is nothing new. It did not start in October 7.
mhm.
Journalists continued to get harassed, even in the West Bank, even in other areas. And of course, hindi natin makakalimutan yung pagpatay kay Shireen Abu Akleh. She was really what you would consider possibly, well, a modern day hero for Palestinians. She was Palestinian American. She was Christian, right? And she was considered somehow like the Palestinian Amanpour. Ganun siya kabigat. And when she was killed in 2022, the initial press release na nirelease nung state na yon, sinabi na she was killed by someone from the Hamas side or the PLO side or the Palestinian side. Pero in the end, based on the investigation, inamin na rin, right? Inamin na rin na it may have been an IDF, right? Then, if you actually watch the video of her funeral, you will see how, even in death, she was not given respect or dignity. Because even that funeral walk was attacked. I mean, you could see her own casket was nearly toppled.
Yeah.
And it tells you she was American, right? She was Christian, and that did not stop anyone at all from killing her, right? So
Yeah.
no one is safe. And for as long as you're Palestinian, as long as you're a minority journalist, you're at risk of getting killed. And you're seeing, well, ako observation ko lang to, pabata ng pabata yung mga journalists sa Gaza.
Yeah.
Pabata sila ng pabata. But you need to understand that there is no shortage of possible journalists in Gaza because it is a highly educated, more than 95% actually are well educated. I need to check those facts, but I can tell you that mataas yung literacy rate doon, meaning more than 90% really have finished their university degrees. But then you can see they're getting younger and younger. And this is just my own observation. And that's because you have young journalists or aspiring journalists now forced to step up because the traditional ones are gone, right? 278 journalists killed, right? That's not even a point of contention. Hindi na yan yang, uy, mukhang dumadami. Madaming-madami na. Sobrang dami na. And dito nga yung nagiging issue dito is, sa panahon ngayon, magno-neutral pa ba?
Yeah.
Klaro na. Um, the Israeli offensive in Gaza has killed more journalists than in any other conflict in
Conflict.
modern history, right? More than the Vietnam War, more than World War II. And what are we doing?
Yeah. Yeah, what are we doing? And this is why I think it's important mag-segue na tayo dun sa mga discussion natin dito about how journalists are dealing with this. Just when okay, let's not beat around the bush on this one. When you learn about the junket that the Israeli embassy here in Manila, sponsored for a few journalists from Manila, from the Philippines, for a trip to Israel, and then a few of them came out with glowing kind of articles or coverage of that junket. What was the first thing that came to mind, Jess?
Unang naisisip ko na if I'm gonna be invited, should I go? ang naisip ko talaga, I should, no? Because it's something, it's very important what's happening in Gaza right now. I mean, the conflict that's happening in Gaza is, for me, is the most important event, no, of our generation. So parang naisip ko, I should go. Pero definitely naisip ko rin na they will try to control the number. Pero papayagan ko ba yun? Well,
Mhm.
naturally, ang sagot ko is, siyempre hindi ko papayagan. I mean, I will go. I will, take in whatever I can, visually, and in all the things that they're saying, i-record ko lahat yan. But then again, that I wouldn't let it control my reporting. Yun naman yung importante eh. Kasi journalist ka nga. Kasi di ba parang meron na tayong, ano yun, yung kasabihan na, yeah, if when it's raining, or when someone's saying that it's raining outside, no? I mean, the journalist's task is to check and not rely on what someone is saying. Ano?
Stick your
Lalo
head
kasi
out the
talaga, check
window.
mo talaga.
Yeah.
Yeah, stick your head out of the window and check if it's really raining. So yun, ganun yung hindi
But
yung
yeah.
hindi yung kung ano yung binigay sa'yo na press release or dahil narinig mo lang si Poncio Pilato o si Herodes na nagsabi ng ganito.
Pero ano
You
yan,
will take
Jesse?
it hook, line, and sinker. No?
Yeah, of course. I'm sure Jam has something to say about that. But ano din naman kasi, this also is a measure of your credibility as a journalist because syempre, yung mga nag-sponsor ng mga junket na ganyan, titingnan naman nila yung body of work mo kung, this is something that you might be
Yeah.
more inclined to write favorably sa pabor nila, sa part nila or
So
what. But,
parang are you saying na hinandpick talaga yung mga nagpunta dahil
well, I'm
they're the
sure.
safest?
I'm sure they have to get their money's worth. I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
ito ang mas offensive pa dito sa nangyayaring ito is because it's not as if this is just your ordinary junket. I mean, junkets happens all the time. I've been to junkets myself, but there's always an expectation to be professional about it. But in the case of this one, may mga nagsulat talaga that even to the point of saying na fake yung famine na nangyayari sa Gaza. So, that's what makes it really egregious sa akin. Yung favorite word ko the past how many days, egregious.
Yeah,
Kasi
I
nga,
noticed.
tawag dito, you are given an opportunity to see for yourself what's happening on the ground, and yet you still choose the narrative that was given to you, right? So yeah, Jam, I'm sure you have stronger words.
I think that it's nothing new to go on media tours and to go to areas where you might be deemed as hostile or that you be invited by different forces hoping to influence you and your reporting. That's part and parcel of what we do, right? This is who we are to get into these kinds of complicated sort of official transactions. And I call them transactions because they take you on a trip, and then they tell you, oh, temporarily, we may expect a write up. That's all there is to it, right? There's a write up. You get to go. Um, but just because you go on these media pressers doesn't mean that you diminish your role as a journalist, that your ability to think independently also just like completely evaporates. That's what I don't understand. And when you write something because you feel that, okay, somehow we'll give them the benefit of the doubt, kasi nga pumunta ka na doon, di ba?
Mhm.
Maybe perhaps doon na lang sa writing mo, sabihin mo na lang na I cannot independently verify many of the things that
Yeah.
we were shown because this is an organized tour and organized tours are controlled tours. You don't have to lie about that. You don't have to say, oh, it's such a nice way. I look like I'm on a holiday. That's not a holiday. And no matter what you present it as, oh, I'm gonna talk about food or I'm gonna talk about the birth of Christianity in this place. Maybe that's a way to kind of soften that fact, and maybe that's your way of compensating na siguro sa sarili mo na lang na hindi, at least hindi ko masyadong ginarapal to or something.
Mm.
But
Or at least yung OFWs doon.
yes, but to actually just completely, and I don't even want to mention that person's name because um our work as journalists really mirror the work of public servants. All our work is a matter of public record. So let the public judge our work, right? And we will be judged based on how credible we will be seen by the public. That's the best punishment. Ay, disrespect is, sa'yo nga, ano nga yung word mo?
Egregious?
Sa akin, it's an abomination.
Oh,
It's,
well.
well, yun, or siguro parang, what? You know, so, but at the end of the day, um, taya niya yun eh. Yun yung pusta niya. And malaki yung kabayaran nun. Ang kabayaran nun ay hindi lang yung pagbabash sa'yo, pero yung kredibilidad mo bilang journalist.
Yeah.
Yung tingin sa'yo ng mga tao. Sa akin, and then, can I just say one more thing? And I wanted to mention this earlier, but I completely forgot. Not being in Gaza, um, the excuse that journalists are prohibited from going into Gaza is not an excuse not to cover Gaza.
Yeah.
Because this is genocide happening in real time. It is televised. It is live streamed, right? It is a matter of public um, records. Available lahat. Bakit hindi pa natin pwedeng isulat?
Mhm.
Bakit hindi natin pwedeng gawin? Nang tayo lang, 'di ba? So, may part din doon na tamad ang marami sa atin, siguro, na kalkalin pa at gumawa ng ibang paraan. Maybe we are overwhelmed by other stories. Maybe our newsroom is not as vibrant and as dynamic as it used to be. The industry is in many ways somehow sort of flattened. And I think that's one of the many other reasons. But you can't use anymore yung ganitong excuse. Wala kasi kami sa Gaza para hindi ko
Mhm.
makuha. Pwede mo
That's it.
isulat.
Yeah.
At saka 278 journalists na yung pinatay eh. Yun lang yun.
Mhm.
Yun lang
Yeah.
yung basehan nun, kahit isa or dalawa. Pero ito, 270 plus. That was the record that I saw, the number that I saw last week with Al Jazeera. For the record, I don't know if that's still updated. But, hindi pa ba sapat yun? Coming from a country that is considered one of the most dangerous places in the world,
There you
after
go.
the Maguindanao massacre, right? After the killing of so many journalists, tapos iwa-whitewash mo yung ginagawa nitong state na ito?
Yeah.
Wala ba
Yeah.
tayong personal experience? 'Di ba? Hindi ba tayo namatayan ng mahal sa buhay because of somebody had, done honest reporting, somebody we loved, a friend, and who was shot for simply doing his or her job? And then how could we then do these kinds of reports? So I think yung at the end of the day, I always believe that the most important and most expensive price to pay is your reputation.
Gusto ko lang idagdag yung sa discussion, sa discourse, yung cultural aspect din from well, coming from the context of the country like us, no, ours, the Philippines.
Mhm.
Yung cultural aspect din ng trabaho natin. I mean, hindi naman natin din mag-deny na, well, bukod doon sa sinasabi ni Jam na, meron din talaga mga journalists na mga kaman. Pero, karamihan din sa atin, or I don't know the percentage exactly, pero meron din sa atin talaga na we work, or they work to please, to please, to please the employers, to please, future or possible employers, to please, I don't know, the hegemony. Kasi nga, takot tayo minsan I mean, takot tayo na mawalan ng trabaho. Actually, isang aspect yan na dapat din natin tinitingnan. Dahil mahirap na bansa tayo, mahirap na ganap ng trabaho sa Pilipinas.
Yeah.
Marami sa mga kasamahan natin talaga na takot mawalan ng trabaho. So what can they do? No? They just they don't do journalism anymore. Sometimes do PR jobs, no?
Yeah.
Ipaparot na lang nila kung ano sinasabi sa kanila. Or kung may mag-attend ng press con, kung ano yung sinasabi sa press con, o pinadala ng press sa press release, yun na lang din mismo, verbatim yung sasabihin. Kasi wala naman, they're just there to do a 9 to 5 job. No?
Mhm.
Work check in, check out of work.
Yeah. Or Jess, baka naman isang factor din dito yung katulad ng sinabi ni Walden Bello, yung aktivistang scholar na nagsabing na baka this is more than just junket lang na dahil wala lang magawa, but this is probably ideological na marami sa mga Pinoy in general or probably even in the media ay in fact may sympathy sa Zionist movement.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised. Kasi yun naman yung training ng Pilipino. No? We've been, since the Thomasites, since the Americans came, and since the Thomasites educated us, no? Ang perspective palagi ng Pilipino is always pro-US. It's always pro-colonialist. No? Yun naman yung ano eh. Kailan na lang naman ang nangyayari sa atin no? Dito sa Pilipinas kapag if you try to break the norm, no? If you try to rock the boat, no? It's either you get ostracized, you get killed, or assassinated,
Mhm.
etc. etc. No? So ganun, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised kung marami talaga sa atin sa hanay natin na medyo panig talaga sa narrative na
One factor to add is also perhaps that vacuum of leadership in newsrooms, where
Okay.
you have the editors who will say, you know what, this is an important story. Let's focus on that. Um, if you're a young reporter, right? Pag bagong reporter ka, you are trying to absorb as much information as you can. And then you're doing national news, but sometimes you're asked to do geopolitical stories. And so you're trying to navigate this, yung parang how to sift through this wealth of information and pick out the most important and substantial. 'Di ba? Parang may ganun tayo. Pero kung wala kang leader sa newsroom or editor na sasabi, hindi, pupukpukin natin dito. Dito tayo magfo-focus. This is an issue. Um, kung masyadong self-absorbed yung yung head ng newsroom na yon, na yung issue na iti-take up nyo lang is yung issue na na-affect sa inyo. Then, magre-reflect din yun sa reporting eh. Kasi,
Mhm.
makikita mo yon the way i-frame yung story. Pag ika-copy-paste or ipa-publish lang yung Wires report, you know? Pag hindi gagawa ng side issue, pag walang follow-up stories, dun mo makikita. So, I think that if we need to, and we should expect editors in the newsroom to be more
Provide more guidance.
cognizant, your favorite word, cognizant, right, of important issues, and that they should know how to weave global stories together with local stories, because nothing ever happens in a vacuum. I always believe that what happens in Gaza deeply impacts and reverberates in Mindanao. Perfect example. When I did a documentary on the MNLF in 2023, 1 month after the Gaza offensive broke out, I was in the MNLF camp and I was speaking to so many Filipino Muslims. And at the time there was a discussion about the elections. There was some sort of elections there. Hindi
Mhm.
ko matandaan. Pero they were not discussing at all any regional issues sa BARM. Ang tanong sila ng tanong yung Palestine. So for us as writers and journalists or editors to assume that hanggang dito lang yung perspective na interesado yung audience natin is to dumb down the
Yeah.
audience.
ah kasi minsan may mga stories, well, may mga editors there no, who would really push for a story. Pero at the end of the day, minsan ang newsroom, sinasaalang-alang din kasi is yung kung masasaktan ba yung advertisers,
Mhm.
masasaktan ba yung may kaibigan ng may-ari nung publication nila, etc. etc. No? So parang actually yung tong issue na to, tong issue ng pinag-usapan natin ngayon is sobrang lalim eh. Sobrang lalim ito na hindi lang itong nangyayari sa Gaza ay it's just happening on the surface no.
Yeah.
Sobrang lalim eh. It's more than that no? Economically, culturally, politically. No?
Yeah.
And so yun, so parang I think ito yung ano eh, itong nangyayari ngayon sa Gaza and Palestine is for me is a litmus test no, of our profession. It's gonna test us and it's gonna be a way for at the same time it's gonna be a way for us to really dig deep and search
Yeah.
mag soul searching tayo kung ano ba talaga yung trabaho natin no?
Dagdagan ko yan eh. Tsaka yung sinabi rin ni Jam kanina. Sa akin, tingin ko dito, this is a test of the individual journalist kung ano yung worldview niya. Because this is not, itong nangyari, itong mga junket ito na ini-sponsor ng Israel or what, hindi naman ito, these are not ordinary times. I mean, you look at, if you are a journalist, if you call yourself a journalist and you don't know what the F is happening in Gaza, probably you shouldn't be a journalist. Kahit na lifestyle ka pa or kahit ano ka, because your job is to find information on what's happening in Gaza right now. Is so stark that it's impossible to miss it. How is it possible that here you are in the Philippines, a land of conflict, a land where, at some point we were like in the top 3 of the most dangerous countries in the world to be a journalist, and yet you still don't appreciate the fact that in Gaza there's an unfolding genocide that's being live streamed. There have been almost 300 journalists who have been killed. I mean, if these things and the devastation in Gaza, the deaths of the children, if you're watching news, I don't know why that would not affect you. I don't know why that would not give you pause. I know some of those who went on this junket with Israel, and I have no personal animus sa kanila. But when the Israeli government, which by the way is invested in making sure that their narrative prevails, when the Israeli government made that invitation for you to go to Israel for a junket, I mean, how hard it would be for you to weigh that and say, there might be a problem here with the things that are happening in Gaza perpetrated by your government. Okay, I think I should, think about this more thoughtfully. My point is not to shame this journalist, but that if you're faced with all of these horrid, horrid things that are happening in another part of the world, why would you even do that? So, I mean, that sounds really judgmental, but I don't see how you cannot be judgmental when hundreds of people, thousands of people are being killed and hundreds of your colleagues are being murdered.
It's not even that. I mean, if we just look at, for example, that envoy of that embassy here made a claim, I think in February 2025, that Filipinos are anti-Semitic. He made this based on a study which he didn't really reveal. And it was published in one of the local papers. Bakit hindi natin pinick up yung story na yon? Why is it
Yeah.
that we just published, we allowed such questionable statement to go and get published on paper? I think that was February 2020, this year, right? About 7 months ago, that envoy said that Filipinos have become more anti-Semitic over the past 10 years, citing the Jewish organization Anti-Defamation League based in New York. Where was this study conducted? How many were polled? Was this before October 7, 2023? Was it after? And the fact that you could sit in a press conference and not do a strong follow-up question tells you exactly how intimidated many of the journalists are. And we shouldn't be intimidated. Ang dami. Kasi that's just one example. There are so many stories that we could have covered. We could also look at if you're a national reporter doing a story about finding a way to do a story about Gaza and the Israel-Palestine relationship, is to look at how we have voted over the past 70 years, right? When it comes to the issue of the Palestinian state, how many times we abstained, bakit, why don't we get a previous ambassador, assigned in Israel? How complicated is that when that person is retired and can speak more openly? I think there's just very, very different ways to like unpack and dismantle this story. And I think kulang. What really bothers me the most is not so much that junket, because that's a one-off thing. We're all in a but how many times stories are published without proper verification, without a follow-up, without a counter narrative. Kumbaga, sana na lang sinabi mo na lang na press release na to. Kasi parang
Ah.
copy-paste mo na lang to, di ba? Nag-transcribe ka na lang. I think yun yung pangit. Kasi pangit tingnan dahil 2023 pa yung conflict. Hindi na nagbago yung coverage.
Yeah.
Ganun pa rin. Lastly, I think one major issue within our own media landscape is that we do not have really an honest broker that can, honestly sufficiently say, everyone, all of you guys, whether you're a more progressive media outlet or a more conservative one in business and the economy, can we all sit together and see how we can move forward? Walang honest broker eh. There are organizations, there are pockets of organizations, and I think that's what makes us weak. And that's how we are being diminished. And I think that's a way forward that we have to look at. I think it's quite important.
Yeah, diminished and
Well,
manipulated.
picking up
Um,
on,
Sige, Jess, go ahead.
oh, gusto ko lang dagdag. Well, pick up ko lang yung pinoint out ni Jam, on anti-Semitism. It's parang, ang pansin ko lang din kasi, no, it's napakadaling, palagi, no, palagi, kahit sa hanay din natin, no, palaging napakadaling gamitin yung issue ng religion, palagi. Yung angulo ng religion. Napakapalasak na eh. No? It's always this religion versus this religion. Yung angulo ng mga stories natin. Pag sinasabi natin terrorists, it's always almost always equivalent to Islam or Muslim. Pero wala naman tayong, hindi naman natin nililabel na Christian terrorist na pagka Christian yung gumawa no? At the same time. And yun yung ano eh, it's the easiest, I think for some of us, it is the easiest way to analyze an event, no? Or a story, no? Or to present a story. Pero, like for me, for example, I'm not anti-Semitic. No, I've been schooled in Germany, in Berlin, in context-sensitive journalism, and I did, lots of stories about how what the Germans did to the Jews, no? And sobrang, I just cannot accept that, no? Pero one of the things that I've learned in Mindanao, no, when I was doing my reportings there is that wala naman talagang kinalaman ng religion sa mga conflict.
Yeah.
I mean, definitely no. I mean, ilang beses na siyang dinebunk ng mga scholars na hindi talaga religion. Religion, definitely ang religion is wala namang religion na nag-advocate ng conflict o ng war. No? All religions are peaceful.
Anti-Semitism
At least,
is also politically, I mean, it's just incorrect because it is Semitism, anti-Semitism.
well, even the Palestinians are Semites.
Exactly. Arabs, those who shared similar languages and cultures, right? And this needs to be corrected. So when I was looking at this article where, this envoy claimed that Filipinos are anti-Semitic, what does that even mean?
Yeah.
Who are the Semites even? Why can't we even Google that and just at least add that important factor that, for example, Semitic is not a racial category, but one where you share the same language and culture. And this is not even correct. I mean, it's like an oxymoron. How is that even possible? Pag sinabi mong anti-Semitic ka, pero you claim that you are from the Middle East, you claim that you are from the Levant, then that means that you are anti-Semitic to yourselves, to your own
Yeah.
race. Parang, and I think if we just parang mag-effort lang ng mas konti pa, konting, siguro, makonsensya na lang siguro tayo. It
Yeah.
could have been us,
Yeah.
when it comes to, it happened to us, maybe not on this scale, but it could have been us. I could have been a Palestinian journalist and I could be writing my will. And it's only just a matter of circumstance na hindi tayo yon. And for
Yeah.
those like us, di ba, given this freedom, dapat medyo gumalaw naman tayo at hindi tayo masyadong passive.
Yeah.
At kung ayaw ng network natin, at least in our own capacity, gumawa tayo ng paraan.
Exactly. To sort of wrap this episode up, Jess and Jam, can you, briefly tell our colleagues in the media here in the Philippines, I mean, what are the challenges that we should be expecting?
I don't want to preach. I don't want to lecture
But please do.
our colleagues because I think may kanya-kanya tayong pinagdadaanan. Swerte ako sa Al Jazeera. I was given a lot of freedom and sufficient resources to pursue stories that I really believed in, and I'm very grateful for that. And I know that there are a lot of journalists also who have different challenges, no? Resource man yan, personal yan. But that it's really part of that game, part of the trade to really covering conflict is to understand how to sift through that propaganda and the fog of war and to remember who we represent. And that representation is always journalism is really all about not just presenting two sides of the story, but presenting a bigger space for those who have less. No, it's almost like part activism. Alam mo kung nang bakit nandito ka? alam mo din kung niloloko ka. Alam mo kung binobola ka. So, syempre, kailangan kahit limited yung resources natin bilang journalists, minsan mag-embed ka talaga, sasakay ka talaga sa truck, makikiangkas ka talaga, makikipag-usap ka, harap ka. um, yung dignidad, yung dagal mo bilang journalist, dapat hindi yun mababawasan, mahihiwalay sa ginagawa mo. And yung dangal mo na yun, dapat magre-reflect yun or magpapakita yun or lalabas yun sa output mo,
Yeah.
sa reporting mo, and in the case of the fantastic work of Jess in Mindanao, sa images mo. So I think always remember that, like I said, the heaviest price to pay is really your reputation.
Yeah. Well said, Jam. Jess?
Yeah, well, I totally 100% agree, no. Integrity talaga yun. Parang pag nawala na yung integrity mo as a journalist, wala ka na karapatan maging journalist. No? That's for me. And secondly, ano yung mga dapat nating consider? I mean, sobrang dami, no? I mean, hindi tayo matatapos ng buong araw pag-usapan lahat ng mga dapat nating itakal ng mga problema sa industry natin at mga uh, ng mga usapin. Pero at the end of the day, parang sa akin simple lang eh. Well, ito rin yung tinuturo ko sa mga gusto maging photojournalist na palagi. Palagi. No? Sobrang komplikado. Everything seems to be complicated when you're out there trying to, sift all these what's happening and all the informations. Pero at the end of the day, isa lang yung palagi mong isipin. Ano? Who are you writing or who are you shooting the story for? Para kanino yan? Di ba? Parang if it's not for the people, or is it for the people, or is it for your company, or is it for someone else that you're trying to please? Yeah? Pero I mean, for us, simple lang talaga yung sagot. It should be for the people. Or who are you serving?
Yung power ng visual journalism has never been so important as it it is now because of what's happening in Gaza.
Yeah.
Diba?
Actually, it's very ironic then. We're now at a time where our communications environment are so visual. Uh, pero at the same time, it is also somehow may mga stakeholders pa rin na trying to discredit all these visual images. No? Parang yung ano yan eh, parang yung the drug war here in the Philippines. No? When the drug war happened, no? We covered it, and the atrocities of that deadly drug war was one of the most, if not the most, heavily visually documented atrocities in Philippine history.
Yeah.
Kasi andyan yung technology, and then you have all these people, these masisipag na mga photojournalists who doesn't sleep just to cover all these killings. Pero at the same time, hindi siya ganun tinatanggap ng maraming Pilipino pa rin. Parang dinidiss pa rin. No? At the same time, ganun din sa what's happening in Gaza. Uh, Sabi nga nila, it's a genocide and war that's being shown to us in 4K. And yet, marami pa rin nag-diss sa importance o dun sa existence ng litrato at mga videos na yan. So, patingin ko, it's not the medium. Hindi medium yung problema. May problema talaga yung perspective ng tao. Yung how hegemony try to, control our perspectives.
Essentially, it's also about race, right? That there's
Yeah.
not enough outrage globally when it comes to, the killing of Palestinian journalists. I'm sorry, but we have to just put it out there because brown lives don't matter as much. Can you imagine if it happened somewhere else? If it had happened in Europe? That won't even happen in Europe because mechanisms will be put in place to make sure that this won't be possible. But because it continuously happens again and again, right? And because even other media networks don't care as much, it's because brown lives don't matter as much as white lives do. And as sabi ko nga, kailangan makita natin yung critical factor na yun eh. And aminin natin na nandun yun. Only when we truly admit that there is this race issue, right? We critically look at it, that we can really even sit down and say, this is how we're going to do it.
Yeah.
And I think it needs to be said that it's
Yeah.
a race issue.
Yeah, thank you, Jam. And thank you, Jess. I think it's very clear for all of us, journalists, activists, what's happening in Gaza is basically the erasure of a people. There's no excuse to not be ignorant. There's no excuse to be, not be informed. And even the idea that taking a side or taking an ideological leap in terms of supporting the people of Palestine, the scale of the horror in Gaza is much too big to ignore. This all boils down to the individual responsibility of the journalist. It begins with yourself as a journalist. You have to look at what's happening in this country so far removed from yours, true, but where the ghastly erasure of a people is happening right before our eyes. This has been an interesting episode of Open Talk. Thank you so much, Jamalin Dogan, formerly of Al Jazeera and now full-time mom, and
Thank you.
Jess Aznar, also
Thank
with
you.
the New York Times. It's a heartbreaking discussion, obviously, but thank you so much for taking part in it.
Thank you for the space, Loy.
Thank you.
Thank you.